You are listening to the TV Obsessive podcast, brought to you by TVObsessive.com.
Okay, welcome back to the TV Obsessive Podcast. We're here today for episode 138. As always, I'm Cameron Crane, executive editor for TVObsessive.com. I'm joined by Ryan Kirksey, writer and contributor for the site. How you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing pretty good today, although there was a new category in the Golden Globes Best Podcast. We did not win. I don't know
We
if you know that.
didn't?
We did not win that. No, no.
That's
Amy
disappointing.
Poehler, Amy Poehler won Best Podcast.
Yeah. I've seen, in light of that, some discourse, as it were, on social media, where I tend to agree that, like, someone said, hey, it's not a podcast unless you can get it on an RSS feed.
Yeah,
I kind of agree with that, someone else said a video podcast is just a TV show.
that's right. That's right.
And I kind of agree with that too. You know what I mean? And it's very weird. Because all the stuff from The Ringer went to Netflix this week.
That's right. Yeah.
Um, so I guess, like when it comes to, because I've checked out the Ringer fantasy football podcast sometimes. I guess they are still available as a podcast also, but the video is no longer on
Yes.
YouTube. It's on Netflix. So it's like, okay, you're a podcast, or we're recording a podcast, and then I'll put up the video with screenshots from Hijack on YouTube later.
Yeah.
Okay, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But I'm not sure about some of these other things. But I tend to agree that, like, if your only form is YouTube videos, then you are kind of more like a talk show. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. I would agree. And it also seemed like for that category, it's it was best podcast for celebrities that have a podcast. That's kind of all that were the nominations.
yeah, it was just a little disappointing. I don't know. But you know what else is weird? And sorry if this is too much of a tangent for people. The term podcast. Do you know, are you aware, do you remember why we call it a podcast?
Trying to think. I feel like we've had this conversation before, and I'm trying to remember where the pod part comes from. And I do not recall.
It comes from the iPod.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And I feel like this is one of those things that's going to be weirdly lost to history. You know what I mean? And like it already kind of is. And down the line, just a little bit, like 10 years from now, people will be like, what is an iPod? Even, you know what I mean? And it's just totally, but yet the term will persist with the
Yeah.
background being like totally lost. And I mean, if you think about it, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like,
It's so funny that iPod was so revolutionary. It had such a short shelf life because everything just became, well, do all this stuff on your phone once the phone came out.
yeah, basically once the iPhone came out and once we started having smartphones, yeah, there was that little period in there, which I don't know, younger people might not even remember or have been alive for, who could be listening, There's that little period there in the aughts where it was like all of our phones were, like Nokia flip phones, but then
Right.
you got a little iPod, you know what I mean? And
Exactly.
like, yeah, the smartphone really changed the world a lot, and it's crazy to think about the fact that it's only been, um, what, 19 years? I think it was 2007 they
Yeah.
released
It's
that.
less than 20 years for the iPhone. Yeah.
Um, anyhow, hopefully that was interesting to people. It's January 16th. Hijack season 2 premiered. We're going to talk about that in the latter part of the podcast. So if people are up to speed on that, first as per usual, we'll chat about some other things in the news and so on. What else have you been watching this week, Ryan?
Well, there was plenty to check out. I've still staying with the pits, still staying with traders. I'm preparing for Night of the Seven Kingdoms coming out on Sunday, but I did purposely want to carve out some time to check out Starfleet Academy on Paramount Plus. This is the
Yeah,
new Star Wars universe show that premiered on Thursday, two-episode drop. I wanted to give this a shot because I like the premise of sort of a young group of cadets going through the program. um, I will say a couple things. That first of all, Holly Hunter, great. She's always great, but she's
hmm
particularly good in the show. Really stands out. There's one major piece of, I guess, Star Wars background you have to
Star
know
Trek.
from Star Trek, or sorry, yeah, Star Trek Discovery. Yeah. The Star Trek heads will crucify me for that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to know a very specific piece of history from Star Trek Discovery. But they do a good job of sort of explaining what this is that has led to what's happening in this show. But this is like 800 years in the future from most of the Star Trek stuff that we know. So
Okay.
there's a significant time gap well past, any of the people or the places or the crews that we're familiar with. Um, I enjoyed it, but it's I think we noticed this when we discussed the trailer. It's very young adult, like
Okay.
Outer Banks on a starship. That's kind of what it is. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to be the whole season for me, but still a fun premise, and Holly Hunter was great.
Yeah, I've been curious about this one. Perhaps I'll check it out as well. One thing you said though is part of the stumbling block for me. I haven't kept up on all of the new Trek shows. I am vaguely aware, I think, of what you're talking about with Star Trek Discovery because someone was writing on it for the site.
Mm.
Um, so I forget the term, the
Yeah, sort of
burn.
a catastrophic event that happened that
Yeah,
leads to why this new show exists. So I don't know, don't want to spoil anything in case anyone watches that, but there's a very specific piece of information you must know.
okay, so that makes sense in terms of situating it. We'll see. It's like I'm constantly thinking because I love Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager so much. Um, I'm always thinking like, well, at some point I'll go catch up. You know what I mean? But I don't
Yeah.
know because I watched season one of Discovery when it came out and just was kind of meh on it.
Yeah.
And then when Picard came out, I was excited about that one. I watched season one of that and then equally wasn't inspired to continue beyond
Yeah.
season one of that. So I know there are other things people really praise, Strange New Worlds people like, and there's a whole bunch of stuff at this point. Um, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get into all of it at some point, but uh,
Yeah.
I might
I
be a
mean,
little bit
as you
more
might
prone to like watch Deep
yeah,
Space Nine again.
you might expect this is a lot of very young, good-looking cadets join Starfleet in hopes of something. And within the first episode, there's a love triangle, bullies, people at each other throats. There's sort of what you might typically think of if you had some sort of soapy 20-something show on Netflix or something right now.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they spin it in a way that's interesting. Did you ever watch this just occurred to me off the top of my head. Did you ever watch The Magicians?
No, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, now I'm remember I did not finish it because it was like I binged however many seasons were available, and then more seasons came out later and they weren't available to me. Whatever, I'm making excuses. But that show was pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. You just put me in mind of it because the initial setup is like young people being recruited to go to like a university for magicians,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's far darker than like Harry Potter or something. It's far darker. But that's the thing. It's like they're kind of starting out, and it's just like, oh, they're taking classes, and like this is vaguely interesting, and then it was like, oh no, massive threat.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
Yeah,
got Starfleet Academy will probably do something similar. It's like,
yeah. That's
they're probably
very,
not.
very similar. We're on our ship traveling to where we're gonna be studying, and oh my gosh, there's a life-changing, threatening event that's happened, and we all got to be called into action. You know the story.
It's gonna happen. That's not even spoilers. I took the time this week for another John Boyce video series that I enjoyed immensely. I want to recommend it and to our listeners here. So this is on I never know exactly how to refer to these things, right? So it's the Secret Base YouTube channel,
Okay.
and then the series is pretty good, I guess. That has other
Okay.
entries like, but that the thing is that also involves like the Reform Party. So these things are disconnected as well. So the specific series is called Full Time.
Right.
Um, and what John Boyce does in this four-part video series is explore the invention and expansion of the telegraph
Okay.
in the 19th century. But he does it through the lens of home improvement, basically.
Oh.
Right? You recall the show? I'm
Yeah,
sure you know
I
it.
mean, I've heard about it through you. So, but no, but
You know Home
that's the limited.
Improvement. Home Improvement. You know
Oh, the show Home Improvement.
1990s.
Okay,
Yeah, the
yes.
show
I
Home
thought you were talking about
Improvement.
like legitimate home improvement projects. Okay,
No,
yes,
no, no. He does
yes,
through the 1990s TV series Home
yes.
Improvement starring Tim
I've
Allen.
seen every episode of Home Improvement. Yes.
Um, and anyway, so the basic framing, I thought this ended up working really well, and part of what made it so compelling that I sat here and binged through the 4 hour video series. Is the archetype of Tim versus the archetype of Al.
Okay.
So you've got the Tim archetype, who's like this overconfident, incompetent blowhard,
Yes.
and the Al archetype, who is just this uber confident craftsman. You know what I mean, or something like that. To try to put it briefly. But anyway, he works through the invention of the telegraph in terms of there being a Tim and an Al, like three or
Huh.
four different
Okay.
times, and like part of the point is that Tim's awful, but like sometimes you need a Tim. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really quite interesting. So like Samuel Morse, I'm sure you've heard of, right? Morse code and all of that. He's a
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
He's a Tim, but he's got an Al who happened to be named Al, Alfred Vale, right? And then it carries forward, so it's I mean, John Boyce always doing stuff that's a little quirky or what have you, but I really enjoyed this framework, right? Where it's like I'm learning stuff that I didn't know, but then intermittently there are also like some clips from Home Improvement.
Okay. Well, that's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, it was quite enjoyable. It's quite enjoyable. And really amazing that they did everything that they did in the 19th century,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. Um, so I do recommend that. I know that John Boyce also has a Patreon and so on, and I'm not subscribed to that, but with these ones, it's like so this has been out for a while, I guess is part of what I'm saying. Particularly if you do subscribe to his
Yeah.
Patreon, it's one of those things where you get it earlier and then it releases later on YouTube. So,
Got it.
uh,
Okay.
but yeah, I don't know, enjoyed that quite a bit. Also been watching the traders.
Yep.
I don't know if you're up to speed on the US traders.
I have not
Uh,
watched last night's episode yet.
okay. When you do, maybe shoot me a DM or something. This is one of those things where it's like we couldn't even talk about it on the podcast without spoilers. But like, I watched it last night. Like party was like, I want to talk about this with someone. Um, anyhow, in the news here we have a few things. Um, well, I guess you want to start with the Golden Globes. Anything to say about the Golden Globes? Except this past week.
Yeah, we were just talking about this off air, as it were. Not too much to say, or maybe too much in terms of surprises. If it was anything miniseries or short term, it was won by Adolescence. If it was anything comedy, for the most part, it was won by the studio. And then the Pit took home a lot of the drama awards. But then you rightly pointed out, we for a brand new show, Ray Seahorn did win for Pluribus. So I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. She deserves. You can just put it with all of her Better Call Saul Emmys. Oh, wait, she didn't
Yeah.
get Better Call Saul Emmys,
Yeah.
but she deserved them. So that's good. Nice to see her win. Um, I'm not the biggest award shows guy in general, I guess. The Golden
Yeah.
Globes in particular. People know there are reasons about the Golden Globes that people are a little bit even more suspicious about them, as it were. But yeah, no huge surprises here, I don't think, on the TV front. Always happy to see Ray Seahorn win awards, and yeah, I don't have much more to say about it. Do you?
Yeah, no, that's about it. Just I think held serve with some past years where if something wins one, they tend to win it all, and these were I think the betting favorites to take home these awards this year. So yeah, just not much in the way of surprises.
Yeah. Let's see what else. We got a trailer and official release date for Euphoria season 3. I know we talked about this on the podcast before. And unless you're going to surprise me and tell me you watched it recently, I know, Ryan, you have not seen Euphoria, right?
I have
Um,
not seen you for you, no.
So I put this on our show notes. Did you watch the trailer? I have no expectation that you watched the trailer. You haven't seen the show.
I did not watch the trailer only because I thought I would be completely lost as to what's happening.
Everyone will be. So it's I have to say I am more intrigued than I was before having watched this trailer. It almost looks like a completely new show with the same
Okay.
characters. There's a time jump, so it's set now a few years after they're out of high school or whatever. And I don't know. It's I've seen the first two seasons, right?
Yeah.
So I'm left feeling like I'm going to watch this, but I don't know if I'm going to like it.
Okay.
But I don't know if I can help myself from watching it, like a car crash.
This is, I will say, I mean, part of it is the anticipation after length of time. Part of it is being able to get all of these unbelievably top of the A-list actors and actresses back for this. But there's been a lot of buzz that I've seen around this. I mean, I was going to ask, I'll ask you and I'll ask others. You probably can't jump into this third season of a show and understand what's going on. It's not that type of not that type of vehicle, I don't think.
No, I mean, maybe you could. I haven't seen the third season, so I don't know exactly how it would go. Um, from the trailer, it might be interesting. Like maybe you could,
Yeah,
but I think that a lot of it is going to play on these characters that we've gotten to know already, and then what's happening to them now, even if there's
yeah,
not a straight line kind of connection plot wise.
okay,
There's one thing in the season three trailer that does relate back to something that happened in season two pretty explicitly.
okay.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it would just be a little weird. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not really that kind of show, but maybe you could do it. And I'd be interested to hear what the reaction is if you did. Just
Well,
start watching season three.
I probably wouldn't do that to myself, knowing that probably part of the idea of dropping the trailer is we got a date, which is April. So I've got 2.5 months or more to try to do this, and it is, I think, a pretty iconic HBO show at this point. So I'm probably gonna try to tackle it before third season comes out.
All right. Well, definitely let me know when you do.
Okay.
Right. Like in this context, come on the podcast one week and you can, share your reactions to Euphoria. Definitely be curious to hear them. Other things in the works, probably further down the line, not a lot of information about them. Um, I guess that we're going to get a TV series based on the girl with the dragon tattoo. Um, but this is very early stages, and maybe there's even like some kind of bidding war over it or something like that. What's your level of familiarity with the series of books slash films?
Yeah, only with the film, I believe. I have never tackled the books, but I do believe my wife turning on. I recall my wife turning on the movie at some point. I'm not sure I gave it my full attentions, but I'm seeming to remembering the moment in time that the girl with the dragon tattoo had. Whatever this was, 7, 8 years ago. That sort of took over for a little while. I don't recall if that was books or movie or both.
Yeah, I think it was more like 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago.
Oh,
I think
okay.
the I've seen the David Fincher film, which I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to, but maybe probably.
The,
But
the,
I
the
think
Daniel Craig movie?
yeah, I think that came out
Yeah.
over 10 years ago.
Okay.
Prior to
Okay.
that, there was a series of films in Swedish. Then before that, the books. So, but I've only seen the Fincher film, and then they didn't make any more,
Yeah.
and that was a little disappointing to me. And I tried to go from um, the Fincher film to the second Swedish film. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because it's based on a series of books,
Yeah.
and that didn't really work for me. It's different actors and all of that, and for some reason, it really bothered me that. Noomi Rapace wasn't really smoking. Um, I guess that's a weird criticism. But in the Fincher film, I forget who plays her in the Fincher film. Anyway, in the Fincher film, it's clear that she's actually smoking cigarettes. And then in the
Okay.
Swedish one, it was just clear that she was pretending to smoke cigarettes. And for some reason,
Yeah.
I found that really off-putting, which is probably bad because it's like I'm sitting here, it's like smoke them for real, you know. Um. Anyway, I mean, I know the subject matter here goes pretty hard. I'll probably be curious to check it out if they make a TV series, and presumably it would be based on the books in the same sort of way, where through the TV series we would get the whole story, which I'm not familiar with. I'm only familiar with what we got in the Fincher film. So kind of intrigued
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and this certainly is an international production. Things that note here in this story we have is it will air on Sky if you're in the UK and Ireland, and that they're apparently in discussions about how to distribute it internationally. So they'll find some partner in the US that's in some capacity, but unless you're in the UK or Ireland, there's no firm plan in place yet.
Yeah, and it seems like it's still pretty early stages too. We're not seeing,
Yeah,
casting information or anything like
right.
that. So, but something to keep an eye out for. Similarly, this news that they're working on a Rockford Files reboot. They're working on a pilot. Again, no casting information yet. Uh, I wouldn't mind Josh Holloway, maybe. I don't know. You ever watch Rockford Files? You have
Oh, that's an
familiarity?
interesting name. I have to admit I have not seen Rockford File. This is uh, I think obviously something that came out was on air right before you and I were born, but
Yeah,
I've
it's a
not
little
gone back.
before
This
our
is
time.
yeah, the mid 70s, I think, James Gardner. I've not gone back and checked this out, but I don't know. This is just the next thing on the list that hadn't been rebooted or redone yet, so they just had to go back and do this one, right?
Yeah, I've got vague memories of the Rockford Files as something my dad used to watch.
Mm,
And I know it's one of those things where he's brought it up even within like the past few years. Like, there's this episode of the Rockford Files.
oh wow, okay.
So I know that, and I mean, for whatever that's worth, but I know it's one of those that definitely has a certain level of critical acclaim around it, or what have you. So I'm curious here. Maybe I'll try if I can find it online to dip in and watch some of the old
Mm,
Rockford Files. You never know how that goes. I tried that once with Hill Street Blues,
yeah.
and I struggled. And I hate to say this, but it's something about the pacing, you know,
Yeah.
that maybe you could get into the space where you could sort of vibe with it or whatever, but the pacing is slower on some of these
Yeah.
older shows than it is on like every show that's currently released.
Yeah, I remember that being something because you and I revisited at least a part of Homicide: Life on the Street last year sometime, maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Um, and that not being an issue and enjoying that show so much, probably because of that. If you go back and revisit some of these procedurals from back in that time, you will find that to be the case. That yeah, just sort of we gotta tell this story and stretch it out to fit the 42-minute mark, and sometimes we don't have all that, so we just sort of fill with things. But yeah, there are some examples of shows that don't fit that, but you would certainly run that risk if you went and found this. This doesn't say if it's available on Peacock or not, even though this is an NBC show. So I guess yeah, you might have to dig for it.
Yeah, I haven't checked on Peacock, but a lot of things are out there on some fast service or whatever, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Like I feel like I'm sure that you must be able to find the Rockford Files on Pluto or something, you know what I mean?
Probably.
But yeah, I don't know, I haven't looked, but curious to see what they do with it with the reboot. I mean, there are some reasons for maybe mild concern or whatever. Because I do think
Yeah,
Rockford Files, it is kind of one of those where it's like he's a little bit of a loose cannon kind of thing. I
yeah,
I, I can't recall even whether he's a cop or like a private investigator or whatever, but um, I guess that's in the works. Might
yeah.
not even happen. This is a broader note related to this and a few other things I've seen recently that it seems like we are getting back a little bit to networks ordering pilots
Mm.
and then deciding, as opposed to a lot of things over the past few years, which have been straight to series orders. So
Yeah, that's exactly right. I do wonder. Well, there have been a couple of like this, but maybe most famously in 2025 that, the pit sort of went back to that format, and it now has a second and a third season, and there's just so much. It's not nostalgia, but just so much sort of interest in that sort of level of. I don't feel like I have to binge this right away. I am intrigued by it week to week. It just, yeah, how are we going to go back, sort of pendulum swing back that direction? But there are more of those starting to come.
yeah, that's another question because I'm pretty sure that the original Rockford Files was pretty episodic. So
Yeah, yeah,
would
yeah,
it be
yeah.
more serial? Will it be like the Perry Mason reboot where it's more like a prequel to Perry Mason? There's lots of
Mhm.
possibilities here. Kind of intrigued to see what they do. Let's see, we got a couple more things to talk about here. Where do you want to go next?
Yeah, just was I was reading a couple things this week about Fallout, and this goes back to this thing you and I've talked about many, many times. We're watched the first season, haven't yet dipped into season two, which came out mid-December, and there's just been some things out there about the significant dip in number of minutes or millions or billions of minutes watched of this show over its first I guess 3 or 4 weeks. They decided to pivot from a binge all at once in season one to a week by week.
Hmm.
So that obviously has something to do with it. But they lost about two-thirds of the minutes from the initial week from this show between season two and season one. So yeah, just kind of curious if they made a mistake here or if this is I don't know. I don't know what to attribute this
Yeah.
to other than there's just a lot of things to put our eyeballs on right now.
And to what extent is it apples and oranges, right? Like if you're using that as the metric,
Yeah,
then with season one, it's kind of okay. Well, how many people binge through the entire season in the first week? That's a lot more
exactly.
minutes than one episode. You know what I mean?
Exactly right. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I feel a little guilty now because I'm always sitting here saying like they should release things week to week and so on and so forth. And they did it, and I watched the first episode right when it came out, and then haven't returned to it yet.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess I'm not feeling compelled to keep up with it week to week. Is one way you could put that. I'll catch up at some point.
Yeah,
But
knowing that's sort of the nature of the era that we live in is I don't need, I don't have to set my VCR every night. I know that in 8 weeks I can go binge this, and I don't
yeah,
have to look at it right away. Does Amazon Prime that has this show, do they care about that? Do they care about getting first week minutes versus you just watch it at some point? I have no idea. But it just, yeah, significantly changing their strategy, significantly changed the number of people watching it, it seems.
yeah. So, but then it should also change their metrics, right? Like,
Right. Right.
and I don't know it's been however many years now, but feel like these streaming services are still trying to figure this out. How do we judge
Yeah.
whether it's successful or whatever? Netflix has their model, and that is based on the binge release, right? So, and I think that's the metric you're referring to here, right?
Yes.
Is like the one that Netflix uses. How many minutes were watched in the first week, and so on and so forth.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But of course, it's different if it is one episode a week. That's my first knee jerk reaction. Um, and then maybe it'll catch up down the line. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It
Um,
to yeah, when you're talking about a 7 or 8 episode season, um, maybe it's not such a bad thing when you have a third of the number of millions of minutes watched as opposed to an eighth, something like that. So it could be that, yeah, we just need to rebalance our calibration of how we're measuring this.
Yeah, I do believe, for what it's worth, that it's already been renewed for season three. So we're not talking about this show being in peril or anything. So, to my knowledge, I mean, maybe in terms of further seasons, though, who knows exactly how Amazon saw it.
Yeah.
We'll judge that. I definitely do intend to watch all of it at some point, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
And currently, I'm kind of thinking, well, I'll catch up either in the near future and then watch week to week, or at least I'll try to catch up before the season ends.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
one of the reasons, though, that we always say week to week release is somewhat preferable is because it gives the space for things like this. You know, we're not talking about Fallout on the podcast, but there are Fallout podcasts out there, I'm sure. Or,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, yeah. Anyway, hopefully it'll be fine. The show's got a great
Yeah,
cast. I don't know why. I don't even know why
it
I
does.
haven't returned to it. As you say, I think that there's just so much other stuff, and then we also had the holidays in there, and
Yeah, that was a strange released window for me. I get well, people will be off, they'll have a chance to watch it, but then well, if you want people to do that, then give them 8 episodes if they're gonna be off for a week or two and have the chance to do it. But now they have to drag it through February, and some people may, some people may not.
yeah, it's interesting, right? Because it's like the logic when we were younger from TV networks was we're not going to put out anything new over the holidays because people are busy
Exactly.
doing holiday stuff. And
Yeah.
the logic now seems to be like we're going to put out a ton over the holidays because people are just sitting at home with nothing to do.
Yeah.
Um, Somewhere in between, is
Yeah, that's right.
probably would be a good way to calibrate it. But for you and I too, like I know we both watch football, and there's been a lot of football, you
Oh
know,
yeah. Yeah.
and that would be different, also for someone who is not watching the football, I suppose.
That has taken a lot of the bandwidth in the last few months. So you're right about that.
Yeah. Um,
Lastly, just one small quick note. We noted this is that show I think controversially that got yanked and never has aired on Apple TV. It was I forget the name of it, but it was with Jessica Chastain, and it was
the
about
Savant.
the Savant. That's what it was. Yeah, that was about this sort of stay-at-home mom who started uncovering mysteries and cold cases from her computer, and had something that tied too closely to some real life events, and so it got pulled and has never aired. And just had that in my mind as I looked at this story that we'll post here about Anne Hathaway coming to a television show that's going to be produced on Paramount Plus. That's based on a Vanity Fair magazine article about a Texas serial killer and one of his abductions and some of the wild stories that resulted from this from what happened there. So just Anne Hathaway coming to TV, stories being adapted for magazines. It's kind of a uncharted territory, it seems. That was what the Savant was going to be as well. So just interesting to sort of what this story is and why, if Anne Hathaway is going to take it on, there must be something there that's appealing to her.
Yeah, this one does look interesting. Um, I think this is pretty early stages too, isn't it?
Yeah, I think very
Um,
much so. Although it does have a home at Paramount.
right. So they are adapting it, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, in some ways, it sounds to me like almost a straightforward kind of crime drama or something like that. But as you say, it is
Yeah.
based in reality, right? So it's a true crime
Yeah, just
drama.
this one paragraph about what I encourage people to click on the link we'll provide and read this. Just I did not know this story, but this story about one woman who was captured by a serial killer and what she was able to do while under under his control. Quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Keep an eye out for it, see when it comes out, and try to check it out. So cool. All right, you ready to talk about Hijack?
Yeah, let's get into it. Second season of Hijack.
All right, so yes, we're going to dig in on the season premiere of Hijack season two. So spoilers will be on the table for that episode, which came out a couple days ago, and also for season one, if for some reason we want to make reference to that. So we'll put a little bit of music in here and be back with you in just about 10 seconds.
Okay, we are back to talk about Hijack Season 2, Episode 1, titled Signal on Apple TV. This episode written by Guy Bolton, directed by Jim Field Smith. 2 years after the events of Flight KA-29, professional negotiator Sam Nelson is in Berlin, apparently for a meeting at the British Embassy regarding new leads on the person responsible for the Kingdom Airlines hijacking. British intelligence officers, however, begin to investigate Sam's missed appointment when he does not show. We see a diverse group of commuters get on a Berlin train, including Sam, some locals, British high schoolers on a field trip, and someone who used to intern at Sam's firm. Sam notices very erratic behavior from the train's driver, Otto, who is seen panicking in a restroom before getting back on and resuming his route. A man disguised as a construction worker is also shown switching tracks to divert the train into a closed line, which sends them in the wrong direction. As the train misses several stops that ignores red signals, Sam realizes something is wrong and improvises the situation by racially profiling a passenger to draw the attention of the police in a move that gets the police off the train and allows him to gain access of the conductor's booth. However, what happens at the end of this episode is quite the twist. Sam is not there to stop a train hijacking, but it is revealed to be the one behind it. We speculated at this as we talked about Hijack. Is this just this guy found himself in a situation again, or is he involved in this? They took a long 45 minutes to get there, but the last shot of this episode is us seeing that Sam is the one behind this. I don't know. Do you feel like they sort of paid off that twist at the end, or that this is something that you could sort of telegraph along the way?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was kind of telegraphing it along the way or closer to that side. I mean, I think still coming out of the end of the episode, there are a lot of questions for us to talk
Oh yeah.
about in terms of what exactly is going on here. What is Sam doing? What is his plan? Um, and so on. He definitely seems, I don't know. So we'll talk about all of that. Maybe this is good, but I did find myself in part as I was watching the episode wishing that they'd just given us more information and been more straightforward about it. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I just found that it seemed to be maybe from the very beginning when we see him, I don't know, buying a soda out of the machine, looking up at the cameras, being sort of shady, not wanting to talk to people, just observing what's going on, that they were sort of trending towards something, being off about what Sam is doing there. But you're right. I feel like not too much happened in this episode. All that happened was where they set up questions, and that's fine. But yeah, we sort of were left with very, very small breadcrumbs of where the season might go, and then left with this big piece of, okay, the obvious question is, why is Sam doing this, and what do these little pieces that we were left with in the first episode have to do with it all?
Yeah. And a question that I have. So, I have a lot of experience in my life on the New York City subway, right? So a lot of what was going on in this episode reminded me of that. Um, and I guess a question for our German listeners. Is it like normal for people to like chat each other up on the trains in Berlin? Because that's really not in New York City. I mean, like it might happen, but it's always kind of like, no, actually, the etiquette is you almost pretend like other people don't exist, right? We're just like
Yeah,
riding the
yeah.
train. I don't know you. You are more like an object on this train. So I wondered about
I
that a
spent
little.
I spent a few years in my teenage life and living in Europe, and they had above ground rails and trains like this. Yeah, plenty of buskers, people going around asking for money, playing music, but you're right, not a lot of interaction among strangers on those commuter trains.
Yeah, and it's like this is what I always said, about New Yorkers in regard to this. So there's that kind of perception out there from a lot of people that New Yorkers are rude or something like that. It's a different kind of etiquette, right? Like if you're in this
Yeah,
densely populated city, there's a certain way that you're polite by kind of ignoring people, like particularly when you're packed into a train. So
yeah, yeah.
uh, I don't know that bugged me just a little. Some of that's bugged me just a little
And
bit.
you just like we had to do with the Kingdom Airlines, we'll have to do on the Berlin train. We just have to leap past the idea that everyone on this train is just speaking English to one another for the most part.
Well, of course, they've got like a group of students from the UK.
Yeah.
The one kid who's very nervous about being on the train in the first place. I'm sure
Yes.
that we'll get more things happening with young George having panic attacks and things like that. Um, I don't know. I mean, I have to say overall to kind of get the negative out there towards the beginning, as I like to do. season one I enjoyed throughout and compelled me. Season two, I think, is off to a little bit of a rough start for me. What do you think on that front?
I 100% agree with that assessment, and I'm trying to think why. Is it because I think that just not much was accomplished this episode? Did I think maybe because it was easy to predict what was happening at the end? Is it because I was able to binge most of the first season of Hijack, and it just sort of is this, well, yeah, I want to press next and see what's happening and what does the cliffhanger or the twist lead to in the next episode, and then maybe also just a sense of, was being stuck and hijacked on a plane more interesting than being hijacked on a train that's going to be, just stuck under the underground somewhere.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Like, does it make sense to hijack a train? Is that even the right verb? I mean,
Yeah,
I guess it works. It functions, right? You're taking
right.
you're taking over control of the train when you're not supposed to be the one in control of the train. So, like, I guess that's a hijacking, but it definitely feels much more straightforwardly like you've taken that train hostage.
Yeah, and you're going to miss some things like, I don't know. You see this in a lot of shows and movies. The whenever there's something that goes wrong on a plane, oh, we've got the threat of, we're at any moment going to give the order to shoot this plane down, so nothing worse happens. This train's going to go, keep going at normal speeds down the wrong track or go park somewhere, and he's going to, have these people locked in a room somewhere. It's just not the level of boy, I'm on the edge of my seat of what could happen at any moment to this thing.
Right. And also with the plane, it's kind of like, well, it could go anywhere. I recall in season one of this show, one of the things that really got my mental gears turning towards the beginning was the fact that it seemed like this group had hijacked a plane to London in order to go to London. And you're like, well, what? That doesn't. And what's the deal there, right? Like, you're not changing the destination.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Whereas, yeah, with the train, where the train can only go where the tracks are. So I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
there are some
you're not going
predecessors.
to take out a whole city with a train. We did have in season one the layers that were uncovered about, what was going to happen if this plane went down and the stock shorting and all of that. Not really sure that can apply, but there's certainly bound to be some sort of conspiratorial things happening here, and I'm not sure we've actually uncovered yet beyond Sam and Otto. Is there anyone else on the train that's has anything to do with this?
Right. I was going to say, there are some predecessors, or at least one that they've made twice. The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People have seen that film. So put me in mind of that a little bit. It's like, okay, yeah, there is tension and so on, but it does feel like it's more of a hostage situation than anything else.
Yeah.
And of course, in season one with the plane, it also kind of, boiled down to that. But then the question is, well, what are the demands?
Yes. Yes.
It would seem if Sam's the one hijacking the train. So let's do we buy this fully, right? Like, um, is it just Sam behind this, right? So in other words, is it Sam who's coercing Otto to do what he did? Is Sam like pulling on the cheap side firm's tactics?
Mm,
I don't think he'd follow through on killing the guy's family, but you know what I mean? Like, is he
yeah.
forcing him to do this? We see some German cops raid apartment or whatever.
Yeah.
Was that Sam's place? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I don't think that was Sam's place because it looked like they found an ID, and then immediately it switched to the scene where, the line or rail line workers were leaving for the day, and one of them showed up and had to show his ID. So maybe there's something there where they were uncovered some place that some group of conspirators were working in to put something together, and it has to do in some sort of triangulation with Otto, this guy who's over there switching the tracks, and Sam somehow. Are they all connected? I don't think that's clear yet, but there's clearly a sort of a bigger thing at play here.
Right. I agree. I don't think it was Sam's place that they broke into,
Yeah.
but because he shouldn't even really have a place
In Berlin, yeah.
in Berlin. Excuse me. I mean, I guess this is where I felt like personally, I would have just liked a bit more information from this first episode. I understand
That
what
was
they were doing.
my biggest, yeah, my biggest complaint. Exactly.
They structured the episode in this way where it was withholding that, um, trying to build tension through what we don't know. And I do think, I guess that worked, at least to some degree. Like I found this episode to be relatively stressful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I don't know, a little bit more because um I don't feel like my mind has a whole lot to work with in terms of thinking through the questions that are being presented here. It's just kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, well, was this just was Sam behind everything with the guy who messes with the tracks and with
Yeah.
coercing Otto, and all of that? That's a question. And then that apartment that gets raided. But
Yeah. And is the reason for Sam's whatever it is that Sam's doing, is it the old, just standby tactics from season one, which is they're coercing him by doing something to his family or someone but does he have a family anymore besides his estranged wife who's off living on her own somewhere? So it's unclear whether they are forcing him to do that or he's doing this on his own. That's one of the probably biggest questions we have.
yeah, okay, good. That too, right? It would be a possibility that he's being coerced, he's being forced to do this. You mentioned his ex-wife Marcia, who we don't see his son. I don't know. It's possible maybe something happened to his son,
Yeah,
or
she's given flowers about an anniversary. Did he die? Is he gone? We don't know that yet.
yeah, what is that anniversary? Um,
Yeah,
I don't think it's the anniversary of the Kingdom flight, and that would also be a little weird.
that would be very weird. Yeah.
Um, it could be like her anniversary with Sam, and he sent her flowers, but they didn't even tell us who sent her the flowers, right? Like,
No,
is there
no, just that
a
they showed up at that
card?
other house and they delivered them. Yeah.
And apparently she's like vacationing at a cabin or something. And then, yeah, who are these people?
Yeah.
Um, is it, I mean, of course, one possibility here is that they're totally making this up, and these are not
Yeah.
list delivered flowers, but instead, you know, they're bad guys who are bringing her these flowers as a part of a veiled threat or something that will unfold. I don't know. Like in some ways, I found like that was the most interesting scene, and but
Yeah.
again, there's
I,
not a whole
I,
lot to
I
work with.
agree. And the guy that was in the distance looked like he was, I may have had this wrong, looked like he was carrying a rifle or something,
Yeah, he
which,
did.
you're out in the country or something. It's not altogether weird, but yeah, why is that? And why is he not there? So yeah, just some curious stuff I'm sure we'll be exploring.
Yeah. There's, and again, to go back to their son briefly, one possibility is something's happened to him bad or whatever, right? But I mean, it's
Yeah.
also possible he's at the age where he could just be like off at university or whatever.
Yeah, I think so.
Um,
Yeah.
but just kind of weird that they don't at all give us anything about him. And then what
Nothing. Yeah.
about Marcia's detective boyfriend?
Yep.
Are
Nothing
they
there.
still together or have they broken up at this point? Um, could he be the one sending her flowers? Like,
Yeah.
um, I presume, I'm pretty sure he was in the trailer, so I think he's going to enter the story pretty soon.
Okay.
Along,
I was gonna say he definitely made it out of season one. So yeah, there's a good likelihood we'll see him.
yeah, and I believe Archie Punjabi's character is also in the trailer, not in this first episode. And this makes some sense, right? Because it's like they're in law enforcement kind of areas, so it's like now that the train has been hijacked, it makes sense for them to enter the story. But yeah, just in many ways, not a lot to work with this first episode, and it left me a little bit disappointed on that front.
Yeah, I would say for me, they have some work to do to bring it to I don't know, the level, but I mean, Hijack season one, I think I remember telling you this at the time, just sort of came out of nowhere and just was an exciting thrill ride and Idris Elba just playing this interesting role. So maybe there's also a bit of we've been there, done that with him now, and there's just sort of less appeal. But just I do think it's a sense of we just weren't given very much at all, And so we're kind of left to put the pieces together ourselves.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the meeting that he misses, because this is maybe the most interesting question in my mind, or leads to it, right? So, like, apparently he has been hassling
Mhm.
the whatever agency it is, represented by this woman Olivia in this episode. And so she set up this meeting at the embassy with the German guy. I'm sorry, I should have made better notes of people's names. I haven't noted that. I wrote it down somewhere, but
I think
um
I got it somewhere. Yeah.
uh and what we see is Sam, so Sam doesn't show up to that meeting. She shows the German guy some photos of someone, CCTV photos of someone crossing the border in Hamburg or whatever, right? And says like,
Yeah.
this is who Sam thinks is behind the hijack of the Kingdom flight. I think that's what she says. I think that's how she puts it.
Yeah. She
And
presents him with something and says she has information. This is who he thinks it is, basically. Yeah.
but so is that going to be a new character? We can't really see on those photos.
No.
We
Yeah. I think we have a lot left to learn there. And I did wonder, is it because he's getting close? Is they done something to him or someone in his orbit, which has caused him to do this? That was a thought I had.
Right, good, good. So I feel like there's two possibilities here related to why Sam misses this meeting and hijacks a train, right?
Yeah.
Like possibility one, which I think you were gesturing at, would be that he intended to go to the meeting, but he was getting close to some, higher up criminal figure to where
Mhm.
they have stepped in and threatened him
Yes.
and made him hijack this train. Maybe they're
Yes.
holding his son hostage or something. We just don't know that yet. The other possibility is that Sam's plan was to hijack the train, and he's really the one behind it. And then the question would be, well, why did he set up the meeting? But I think that could make sense as a narrative possibility where um, the point is for these things to be happening more or less at the same time, right? Because the demands that he's going to make in hijacking the train relate to what he wants the authorities to do, something like
I
that.
think that's 100% right. That's probably the best theory there is, that schedule a meeting for the same time that I have been forced or coerced or have to do this other thing. I don't show what's that reason. They know I'm investigating something, so start going down that trail. I think that's a pretty reasonable assumption.
Yeah. So something like this,
Yep.
Um, sorry, topic.
Yep. So let's
Yeah,
see. That was episode one. We have seven more to go, and I'm just verifying here. This is yeah, week to week. No two or three at the beginning. This is all week to week till first couple days of March.
yeah. So hopefully it picks up a little bit.
Yep.
Or I mean, I think really the biggest thing is that we just want a little bit more information. So maybe this is one where releasing two episodes here on the first day might have been a good plan. Um, I'm still, I'm still pretty entertained though. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, it certainly was entertaining. I did find it funny. I think yeah, season one was seven episodes. Season two is eight. So it was like, yeah, this might have been, we could squeeze some of this into another episode and make this one seven as well. But I guess if they explain it all, sort of how the pieces work together, we can forgive some of that at the very beginning if the ending is on an upswing.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, yeah, man. Again, I don't know. I don't feel like I have that much more to say about this one. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think that's it. We're not given much, and hopefully they can fill our plates a little bit more in the next couple episodes.
All right, then. We'll be back next week to talk about episode two, which hopefully will provide us some more information and some more ways to work through questions in a kind of deeper fashion. So hopefully you'll join us. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. If so, please do leave us a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate it. Check out TVObsessive.com. You can find bin work on TV, past, present, future, and so on. You can follow the site on social media. If you search for TV Obsessive, you should find us. And we'll be back with you next week.
All right. Looking forward to that and see you then.